in the end.
Spooky month may be over, but I'm still in a trap 'em up kind of mood. So let's take a look at another trap 'em up that, while not quite as well known as Night Trap, I think still provides an interesting experience. Double Switch. According to the clapboard scene and what little behind the scenes there were, Double Switch was shot in the summer of 1993, assumably in the same city as Night Trap. Unlike Night Trap, which was being built for a whole new console that never came to be, Double Switch was developed with the Sega CD in mind, though it did get ports to other consoles. Also, unlike Night Trap, Double Switch was nowhere near as controversial as, well, Night Trap. The shoot also went smoothly, even though one of the stars of the game, Corey Haim, had substance abuse issues much like Dana Plato before, but they never interfered here, at least not to my knowledge. The footage was directed by Mary Lambert, best known for directing Pet Sematary at the time. Many of the same people who worked on Night Trap came back, mainly James Riley as a co-producer, co-designer, and co-writer. Believe it or not, one of the co-writers of this game, Flint Dill, went on to write The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, amongst many other games after this. Tom Zito was also an executive producer, but that was his extent. The game also had a more stacked cast in it compared to Night Trap. Arlie Ermey, Debbie Harry of Blondie fame, a couple cult actors in Irwin Keyes and Taylor Negron, and of course, Corey Haim. Also his manager as well, Brooke McCarter. The two had met on the set of The Lost Boys, and they became friends. McCarter also started managing Haim to help keep him clean during the mid-90s. Double Switch was released in late 1993, assuming winter since there's no set release date documented for it, for the Sega CD in North America. PAL and Japanese versions followed in February 1994 and March 24, 1995, respectively. A Sega Saturn version followed in 1995, and Windows and Mac OS versions were released the same year, both in North America. A mobile port was released somewhere in 2016. This was done of Tyler Hoggle of Screaming Villains fame, along with Quarterback Attack. After his work on Night Trap's Anniversary Edition was done, the year after was the 25th anniversary of Double Switch. So Hoggle ended up doing what he did for Night Trap to Double Switch. The 25th anniversary edition of it was released on the PS4 and Steam worldwide on December 11, 2018, and a Nintendo Switch version followed on October 5, 2019. I'll be using footage from the anniversary edition since, again, it's the best. Double Switch, while following in its older brother's footsteps, does a few things differently to keep returning players on their toes and give players new to trap 'em ups a unique experience while still keeping the essence of the genre, both gameplay-wise and movie-wise. The story of Double Switch takes place in an apartment building known as the Edward Arms, built by industrialist Lionel Atwater Edward III at the turn of the 20th century following an archaeological expedition to Luxor, Egypt. The building has an Egyptian theme to it, and it's rumored to hide valuable treasure locked up. Rumor has it there is a statue that may be the key to unlocking everything. The statue is named Isix, named after the original team who made Nemo and Night Trap, and was originally known as Hasbro Interactive, not to be confused with the company that Hasbro formed themselves in the mid-90s that helped publish all those Tonka games from my childhood. It was apparently stolen by Edward. Once again, we play security guard camera watch for this game, but this time we're contracted by a young man named Eddie. Basically, we're doing much of the same thing we did in Night Trap, but we're trapping real human goons instead of vampires. I'll break down the story later on because there's a few differences between the two games that make them stand out from each other. So let's talk about Double Switch's gameplay. Double Switch continues the same style of trap 'em up gameplay seen in Night Trap. When a goon enters the trap zone, you trap them and send them bye-bye, and don't trap the tenants. There are 7 rooms in the whole building for us. Alex's room, the lobby, the band room, Brutus's room, a room for the grad students, storage, and the basement, which doesn't become active until the second act. What makes Double Switch different from Night Trap is how you trap the enemies. Rather than be beholden to color codes to get access to the traps, which are entirely gone from here, thank God, you have to arm the traps, and then you can spring them on the intruders. You click 3 times on a trap to arm it, and then when they step over it, you click once again to activate the trap before the sound ends. Don't arm too many traps at once or you'll overload the system and it will seize up for a moment. It may seem like more work at first, but it's really not. Not to mention, you will get very familiar with the traps very fast. Unlike Night Trap, which has little to no repeat footage, Double Switch will reuse some of the same trap clips throughout the game. You'll do one specific trap, and a minute later that same trap comes back. While this does give Double Switch more of a sense of unpredictability, it can actually make the game too hectic since in between jumping into story rooms, you're given generic henchmen to trap just a bit too much. And some of them have clips of henchmen from groups you don't meet until later in the game. In fact, they can spawn so much, there's an achievement for trapping 3 henchmen in 3 seconds, and you'll probably get it without realizing it. But if you recognize certain cues in the clips, you can know which traps to use. It's just a matter of getting to them in time. You do have some leeway with how many normal intruders you can miss, but do try to trap as many of them for the best ranking possible. Oh, and don't let any intruder trip the power box or it's instant game over. One other thing is that Double Switch is broken down into 3 acts. Each act has a goal you must complete in addition to just trapping henchmen. We'll explain these goals as I break down the story later on. This is another thing that helps separate Double Switch from Night Trap, as you're not just trapping intruders, you're also doing other things. A few key differences really help it stand out. The controls are very much similar to Night Trap in terms of how simple they are. Again, you can use a keyboard and mouse or a controller. The latter you must use on a console. Again, keyboard and mouse wins. You can use the mouse to click on a room to switch to it. You can click on the trap to arm it, then you can click again when fully armed to spring it. The controller requires you to move the analog stick and then confirm you want to go there. Each trap's arm and disarm buttons are mapped. Cross arms one set of traps, square disarms that same set. You get the idea. I think in this instance, the keyboard and mouse really win, since things can get so hectic. The graphics for the Anniversary Edition are about the same as Night Trap. Again, there's very little actual graphical stuff, and it's mostly video with matching UIs to boot. The graphics for the UI stuff look fine, though the background stuff isn't quite there, unlike Night Trap's Anniversary Edition. Not to mention the default UI is a bit on the minimalist side, but there are options for the original Sega CD, Saturn, and PC layouts if you prefer that. There's also that same feature of being able to preview the video of what's going on in a room before you click on it, which is always helpful. Again, if you want the original experience, you have the option to use the original icons where you must click to view the room. However, unlike Night Trap, you are given symbols as to what is what, so you aren't lost as to if it's a story event or just a normal intruder. One last thing. Unlike Night Trap, Double Switch was remastered from the original source since that was not lost, and it looks damn good. Well, as good as it can, but it's definitely smoother compared to Night Trap. Okay, that should cover the basics of the gameplay. Now let's get into the story. Again, spoiler warning, and special thanks to GM_version2 for making a Double Switch the movie edit on YouTube. We'll be using that for the story. Again, pretend it's a DVD bootleg from back in the day. And those were probably real, but not as much as Night Trap. Act 1 has Eddie connect us in to help him out. Eddie explains to us that the Edward Arms is his building, and since it's not in a good part of town, he made these traps and cameras to make sure the tenants are safe. However, he's been locked in the basement for reasons that will become obvious later on, but let's just play along for now. They cut off his controls except for the phone lines, which is how he connected us. Now we have to protect the tenants and break Eddie out.
You and me are friends, right?
Sure? I mean, I've barely known you for 5 minutes, but I guess. Eddie then introduces us to some of the tenants. The manager, Elizabeth, Brutus, a now free man who may have the mob after him, Alex, a journalist looking for her big break.
She's a journalist. I think she likes me.
Sure, Eddie. And finally, the handyman Lyle, who Eddie instructs us to trap whenever we can. Also, somewhere in between there, we're instructed to get a number of a 4-digit code from these 4 power boxes to get Eddie out. With our bases covered, it's off to work. We're put to the test almost immediately as an intruder enters Alex's room, which they show opening bits of in a deleted scene. You can game over by doing nothing here like it's Big Brother, but don't. It isn't very long before we send the henchman to his doom.
Maybe somebody doesn't want me writing this story. This could be just what I've been waiting for. This could be really big.
Her big break, both figuratively and literally. Meanwhile, Brutus isn't too happy we're watching him.
Hey, stop scoping me. If I want your help, I'll ask for it.
Yeesh, what did we do to you, man? You know, you're gonna thank us for saving you before you know it.
When I come back, I want you gone.
You'll only be back when the story calls for it anyway, friend, so we'll be here when you're here. Around the same time, a couple of grad students, Phoebe and Laura, arrive in the building with a package for them. Or so Elizabeth thinks.
I think it's for you. The label was quite unreadable. Some kind of an Egyptian statue. Seems like your kind of thing, Phoebe.
Thank you, Mrs. Edward.
Elizabeth, girls. Call me Libby.
Her friends and her husband does. We then cut to Jeff and his band Scream rehearsing their song, Tunnel Vision. That song is to this game what Night Trap's theme to it was, except grungier. Damn it, I knew we shouldn't have gone overboard. Now how is next week's open mic night gonna go? Phoebe and Laura head to their room. They take a look at the statue and find it may be more valuable than expected.
If this statue is what I think it is, that bag was just the beginning.
Around this point, the first number of the code comes into play in Brutus's room. Get it, then trap the mafioso. Alex heads into the storage room and encounters Brutus.
You spying on me?
No, I'm just doing a story about the building.
You stay out of my business or I'm gonna put your pretty little feet in some new concrete shoes.
Now what would she want with you, man? Look at her. She's just a journalist. Here comes the first trap for Lyle.
Oh no.
Why do they keep forgetting about these traps? First the wall trap and night trap, and now this? Oh, brother. The mob pays a visit to the building to look for Brutus.
May I help you?
Yeah, we're looking for Brutus.
I don't believe I know him, Mr. Brutus.
Money talks.
Well, perhaps the name is familiar.
Really talks.
At some point. Oh, yes. Now I know the gentleman you fellas are looking for. He's in room 232.
By the way, if you don't trap the henchman here, you get this line of dialogue.
Hey, Louis, check it out. Downstairs. We're not back in 5 minutes. Call Mario.
I know this seems unordinary, but trust me, it's gonna get more hilarious later on. At the same time, Jeff gets a piece from the band room to play a joke in the grad room. Meanwhile, Alex warns us about Brutus.
You gotta do something about that mob guy. I'm serious. He almost put me on the obit page.
Now for the second and third numbers in the grad and band room respectively. These happen close to each other, so act fast and trap the goons afterwards. Lyle is cleaning up in the lobby, and then Elizabeth shows up.
Oh. Look at you. Wanton, is she lustful?
You love it, don't you?
Did I get the right version of the game? Wouldn't want any scandalous content scarring a kid playing this to show up out of nowhere now. Jeff heads back to the grad room and pulls his prank on Phoebe and Laura. You can trap him here and when he's getting the headpiece, but don't or instant game over. Finally, the mob sits and waits in Brutus's room until he shows up.
Luigi?
2 weeks are up, my friend.
I got 2 more hours.
And then we're off the clock.
What do you think, I'm stupid? I'm gonna believe there's gold around here?
I'm telling you, Luigi, my father laid bricks on this building. On his dying deathbed, he told me there was treasure buried in this building.
Seems like a hell of an illusion, but we'll go with it for now. Anyway, Luigi is ready to take Brutus out, but we save him. And tell me this line isn't a dig at Nintendo with a straight face.
You tell Luigi and Mario their days are numbered.
You can't tell me that they didn't do that on purpose. I refuse to believe otherwise. Lyle heads back into storage, and look who's waiting for him.
Hi, soldier. Looking for a little company?
The next piece happens if you don't trap Lyle.
Eddie's a good boy. You just don't understand him.
Well, but you let him run wild too long. He's lost touch with reality.
What's done is done.
Okay, this is getting steamy. Also, possible allusion to twist here. Anyways, the last digit of the code from the box is in Alex's room. And yeet the sucker out the window, and we're done. Eddie gets out, but warns us of a potential killer in the building before heading out and gives us control of the basement traps.
Alright, let me level with you. I'll tell you what's really going on around here. I think there's a killer in the building, and I think I know who it is. I'm gonna nail the sucker. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch the basement camera on for you. Keep an eye on my place. Don't let nobody knows around here. Code numbers.
We then begin Act 2. Seems like Elizabeth and Lyle had a hell of a time. She goes off to answer the door while Eddie makes his appearance known.
Surprise! How'd you get out? My little helper.
It seems that there's tension between the two.
Hey, why don't you just shut up, okay? And why don't you just get the hell out of our lives?
Eddie, your mother and I are worried.
Don't you talk about my mother, all right? This is my building, mine. If it wasn't for me, this place would be Crater City. Now, if you mess with me, you're gonna get it. You got it?
We'll see about that.
The old man just doesn't get it, does he?
That's what you think, pal. Elizabeth is dusting the lobby when a group of interesting characters show up. A bunch of wannabe triads. They actually aren't, though. They just dress like that.
How'd you get in?
We are the members of the Society of the Scroll and Key, madam.
There's no scroll here, boys, but I may have a key.
Your father was a member of our secret society. We are here on behalf of his legacy.
His legacy, she didn't realize. Phoebe and Jeff head out when the society members spot the statue. That statue has more importance than they realize.
There are many ways into paradise.
And the key will be the way that leads us to the promised land. Eddie goes to visit Alex and wants a picture of him for the story.
Story? What story?
The one I'm doing on the Edward Arms.
Eddie's not too happy with this, but we can't let the lovely lady down, now can we?
Wait a second. If Eddie wasn't operating the traps, who was?
A faceless operator who's your knight in shining armor, my lady. Laura's just hanging around, doing her nails, when Jeff and Phoebe run in.
They're after us!
You specifically? I think they just want the statue. Jeff hides it up in his room in the meantime.
Phoebe?
Laura, did you not hear them? Alex heads into the basement and investigates.
Eddie's electronic world is apparently deserted. What is he up to here? And who's operating the controls?
Over here, madame.
Whoever you are, I hope you're good.
For your sake, I'm the best. Lyle heads into Brutus's room to warn him, including of hidden traps.
excuse me, sir, but your life may be in imminent danger.
Huh. I don't need you to tell me that, mister.
You don't understand. There are traps that you don't know about all over this building.
Yeah, sure.
And this is where the game's second act goal comes into play. Each room has a secret trap in it. At this point, you don't trap Lyle, you let him show you the trap, and you must have the room pulled up and have it on the screen long enough for the trap to show on the UI. Now you see what that third empty space on the UI is used for. Another player enters the building, Sammy from Zoo Records.
I'm here to audition the band.
I'm a singer. Torch songs, mostly.
Good for you. Maybe next time, babe.
Subtlety really isn't this game's strength. Scream get ready for Sammy, and he arrives.
Is this Scream?
Yes, sir.
I'm Sammy Hamlin from Zoo Records. You have 3 minutes.
Anyway, Scream performed tunnel vision for Sammy, but some extra company that we need to take care of shows up. I love how Sammy doesn't even suspect anything not normal, like it's all a part of the act. Scream kills it, and Jeff is happy. Phoebe is still trying to get help, but still hasn't had luck.
No, nobody was injured, but just don't put me on hold again. No!
Why are they never there when you need them? Lyle enters and shows her and us another hidden trap.
Bother to knock.
Well, I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is an emergency situation we're dealing with here. Come with me. I'll show you what I'm talking about. No, not there. Over here, please. Check this out.
Meanwhile, Alex is reporting what she saw when more company shows up.
The more time I spend on this story, the more I'm surprised at how nothing is as it seems. Eddie's so-called security system is actually just a perverse extension of his own insecurity. Wow, that's pretty good.
Adios, sucker.
But it's a good thing it works.
Phoebe's doorbell rings and a mummy answers.
That's good, Jeff. That's really good. Who are you supposed to be, Ramses? No.
At this point, we save her from the mummy, and you see the new goal. Get the hidden traps and trap the mummy. One thing to note is that you will have to disarm the traps as he tries to activate them, or else the tenants get trapped. After saving Phoebe, Laura shows up with a new outfit, and they head off. Lyle heads into the basement and finds things aren't good.
Oh boy, this is serious. Looks like he's got the remote. Now I know you think Eddie's your friend.
Not really, but go on.
Here lately. And he's gonna try to switch you off from down here. And when he does, use this.
Brutus is trying to find the supposed treasure in the building and finds something in the tomb trap, but when he grabs it... A bad dream per se? Nah, just the mummy. Trap him again. Meanwhile, Lyle shows us to the band room for another secret trap.
Now what we got here is another one of Eddie's secret alcove traps.
Lyle then heads into Alex's room before revealing a big twist.
Eddie's my son.
What? He told me his father was dead.
Well, maybe that's what he wishes. Eddie's been cooped up in here a long time, you know. I want you to be very careful. He's not entirely healthy. And, well, I think he might try to do something really bad.
Anyways, after that serious moment, trap reveal.
Here we go.
Whoa!
Hey, wait a minute.
Can't, ma'am. People here are in grave danger.
Why do you think I'm here? Meanwhile, Jeff is daydreaming with that statue.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Best New Artist Award, Jeff in the screen! Thank you.
He takes a look at the statue when guess who shows up?
Jeff! Jeff, look out!
What's up?
My God, it's not a joke. It's dangerous.
Which is why we aren't gonna do anything and leave it to the operator.
Chill out. This place is getting really strange.
I mean, doesn't the look kind of give it away?
Mind if I hang out here? I don't want to be alone in my apartment.
No problem.
Don't get funny ideas, you two lovebirds. Meanwhile, another secret trap in storage.
This is one that even Eddie doesn't know about.
So he forgot about the pillar trap, but remembers this and all the secret ones? Yikes. Eddie heads back into the basement and warns us not to believe Lyle, and if you don't trap him, he tells you the big twist and locks you out. So trap him.
Anything he says, all right? Do you know why he hates me?
I mean, we did it before, so why stop now? Eventually, he heads into storage, tries to fake us out, and then we hit him with the trap he doesn't know about. Phoebe sneaks into Alex's room with the statue and reveals some important info.
Look at this. Lionel Atwater Edward built this building. He was murdered because of this statue. He was buried with it.
If this is real, that statue originally guarded the treasury of Essex.
Wait a second. That ties in with all the rumors about treasure in this building.
Perfect timing on the mummy's part.
What is it?
Trap the mummy, then Phoebe reveals that it's none other than Eddie himself.
Oh, you think you've won, huh? Huh? Do ya? Huh? I think you just take control of my building, my traps? Forget about it. No one's gonna leave this building alive. No one!
You meddling kids and your dumb dog may have unmasked me, but I'm gonna get away with it regardless, damn it. Anyway, Act 3 begins and there's only one consistent goal. Trap Eddie. Eddie has been unmasked and his mom, Elizabeth, has been turning a blind eye to this.
Oh, Eddie, honey, I just think you're getting too excited over all this.
Alex and Phoebe try to get out, but things don't go as planned.
I'm sorry, dearest, you can't leave. Eddie can be a little strange at times, but deep down, he's a good boy. You're being very ungrateful.
You don't understand.
She locks the door and cues Shining riff. Seriously, Digital Pictures must have loved that movie as much as Doug Walker to make references to it. Augur's hacking the door in Night Trap and then this? Yeah, I know. Anyways, take Eddie out. Then, get him in the basement and be fast. You're the traitor, pal! Lyle takes a sledgehammer to Eddie's equipment, and he gives a little shock to the system.
This ought to light things up a little.
Alex heads back to her room to make a call while Phoebe goes to get Laura.
Mr. Brown, it's Alexandra Smith. Alexandra Smith, I spoke to you earlier this week about the story I was doing on the Edward Arms. Well, sir, it's broken wide open, and I really think you're going to want it.
I'm gonna have to cut this a bit short.
Talk about cutting the line. Eddie tries to stop Alex, but we save her, and once he gets trapped, he gets shocked worse than Clark Griswold putting up Christmas lights.
That was a close call. If we get out of this together, you're on page 1.
Maybe some lunch as well? Phoebe tries looking for Laura in a clip that's a pain in the ass to unlock. Eddie's not too far behind and ready to ambush her, but we save her and Eddie gets another shock. Phoebe tries to get Laura and Jeff, who... I said don't get any funny ideas. Anyway, Eddie tries to sneak up on Phoebe, but we save the day again for another shock. I just did. What are you gonna do about it? They get the idea to go see Brutus for a gun. They all meet Brutus in his room.
Gun ain't gonna help you in this place. I just seen a mummy.
Somebody want to tell them the truth? They find Brutus has blueprints for the building, and they realize something important.
Blueprint of this building.
That's it. This building is the treasury. And somehow this must be the key.
Watch out, girl! Oh,
Eddie gets the statue, and Jeff attempts some crazy, but that won't be necessary. Bye, Eddie. Even the lone mobster knows Eddie fucked up. With all those shocks, I'm surprised he hasn't passed out. Or worse. Everyone gathers in the lobby and lets Eddie have it.
Eddie, you have caused big trouble for everybody in this building. What do you think we ought to do with him?
nail him.
Eddie tries to break free, but that doesn't go well for him.
Mom! Mommy!
I don't think she's gonna save you now. My gut! My back! My chest! I shouldn't have said what I said so soon!
Wait a minute. I believe you have something that belongs to me.
They then use the key, and it opens a secret area with loads of treasure. We're rich!
I love you, Elizabeth.
But darling, do we really have to keep Eddie locked up in the basement?
Oh, he'll find a way out anyways. Assumably, Eddie steals the key, locking the vault back up, and the game begins again without actually looping. Or sequel teaser that never was to be. Back now? Let's wrap it up. Like Night Trap, the original versions of Double Switch don't have much replayability. The Anniversary Edition has some behind-the-scenes content. These include timelines for each act, deleted scenes, the raw footage of the shot scenes before music and post was dubbed in, production images, and other nice things. Sadly, there aren't any making-of documentaries, which sucks because I feel like that would really help shine some more light on how the game came to be. Still, there is stuff of interest, and going for all the achievements will take you about 11 hours. Again, maybe less if you know exactly what to do. Double Switch took a lot of cues from its older brother, but it still does enough to stand out on its own. This is more a mystery B-movie than a horror one, but anyone who has a soft spot for B-movies will probably enjoy it. It looks well, sounds well, plays well, and has a decent amount of bonus content for fans and new players, and I think it succeeds for what it is. However, the game is a bit more hectic than Night Trap. The overloading doesn't stall you too much. Assumably, some of the deleted scenes showed that this was not going to be the case, but unfortunately that never happened. And on top of that as well, the bonus content here isn't as interesting in Night Trap because of the lack of making of documentaries. I will give the same advice I gave in my Night Trap review. If you want an actual game, look elsewhere as this really isn't it. But if you want something different, and you especially enjoyed Night Trap, this is definitely worth a shot. Again, the Anniversary Edition is the best due to its quality of life improvements and bonus content. but once again, the PC version has some bugs. Trouble unlocking certain videos, Brutus basket being bugged. You have to basically activate the basket trap 10 times, and that happens only twice throughout the course of the entire game. Once to trap the initial mummy on the first round, and the second is the final trap. You'd have to play through it 5 times, which you would need to for the other achievements, but unfortunately, I had to do some config editing to unlock it. And yeah, that was not fun, but it is what it is. Regardless, this is another interesting FMV experimental game that those looking for a more hectic trap 'em up should have no problems enjoying. I give Double Switch a 3.5 out of 5.
You thought this was just a game, didn't you? Well, it's over for you! You little...
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, click the big red button below to subscribe. Check out the other links in the description for more cool stuff, and check out the playlist on screen for more content. See you in the next video.